Hey y'all, it's Rick here with Uncommon Communion. It is almost 12:30 on Saturday morning, and I'm recording a video because I am really excited to tell you about what I did for the third time this past Friday. So just, 20 minutes ago when it was still Friday. Let's begin as we always begin by recognizing, realizing, remembering, and affirming, most of all celebrating, that we are always and everywhere in the holy presence of the more and each other. Now, I have shared here before about what I call the Lucy Listening Project, or the LLP. And basically, what I have done twice before, and Friday, a few minutes ago, was the third time that I did this. I think three is a charm. Basically, what I've done, if you missed my reports and my photographs on the first two, is the town that is the next town over, the town where my wife works in the school district, where my kids went to school, where I work, the winery that I talk about working on Saturdays. Every fourth Friday during the months of April through, or May actually, through October, has basically a street fair, right? Close the main street. There's vendors, there's food trucks, there's music. It's just a community outing. It's a community celebration, really. And twice before, like I said, I set up a sign. You'll see the picture of the sign in the chat or in the photo for this particular post. And it is a very simple concept. It is basically saying, like Lucy in Peanuts, give instead of giving me 5 cents like Lucy wants for listening, paying her to listen, I am giving people a nickel, a shiny nickel, to share what is on their mind. And you may remember that last time I had some really powerful interactions, including a gentleman that came up and very sincerely and very heartfelt shared with me that he is an alcoholic and is struggling with that. Well, today was a little bit different. And it was Midnight Madness, is what they call it. It didn't go till midnight, but it is a Halloween theme. So there were quite a few people and kids and dogs and everything in costume. And also, I brought my dog, who is also conveniently and truly named Lucy. And it was the two of us at this little, no booth, it was just a sign and a chair, and that was it. And I gave out a whole bunch of nickels. I think I gave out about two rolls of nickels. So that would be about, there's 40 nickels in a roll, so about 80 nickels. And what was unique about this time was two things. Number one, I think there was just more attention. People were coming over more. They were noticing the sign. They wanted to talk. Now, the fact that I had a dog who is quite fluffy and shaggy at this point, I joked that she was in her Ewok costume because she really does look like an Ewok, her face. And I think that was part of it. But I think people also just were impressed and happy and pleased with this concept. That here was this guy, looks pretty, I don't know, just approachable, I guess, for lack of a better word. And just no gimmick. There's no gimmick, no catch. I give you a nickel, you share what's on your mind. And it was kind of funny because when I asked people that, from little ones all the way up to adults, many really didn't know what to say. They either didn't know if I wanted to hear what they probably did want to say. I did something a little bit different this time. You'll see on the sign again in the photo that I said, put a little Snoopy on there and said that talking about current events is okay. I wanted to leave the door open that if anybody needed to vent or anybody needed to rant, that it was okay. And one lady did actually. She said, she was a lobbyist from DC, And her office, she was a lobbyist for universities, research universities. Obviously, things have been very difficult for them. And she said that her office is right across the street from where the East Wing has been torn down. And she just shared with me how hard it was to hear those sounds of demolition, which I think, many of us saw the photos. I didn't see any video. I just really refused to watch that, to submit myself to that. But she had the sounds live right there. And that was really powerful. There were a few other people that shared things that really struck me. One young woman came up and said that today was her 18th birthday, is her 18th birthday, and her parents said they're getting a divorce. And I looked at her and I said, "Well, happy birthday. Congratulations for that." And I said, "It must be really hard to hear that on a day so special like this." And we talked a little bit about that, and how hard it is for her. I had a number of people, young people, talk about college and college essays and applications. I had a couple of ladies say that what is on their mind is the importance of getting their passports. And I said, "I hear you. I need my passport. My wife needs her passport." And it was really funny. They had this really small little girl with her, and I got down on my knees and I gave her, I held up this shiny little nickel, and I said, "What's on your mind?" And she kind of looked and she said, "Corn." I laughed and I said, "Well, I hope you find some corn." So I thought that was really cute and clever. One of the other differences, and I'll close with this thought because I think this was important for me, and it was different for me this time, is I had more than a few, let's say five or six maybe, people ask me the question back, right? What's on your mind? And actually, I even had somebody, I gave them the nickel and I said, "What's on your mind?" And they shared. And then they said, "Well, hey, back at you. What's on your mind?" And I shared and they gave me the nickel. And one of the things that was on my mind, just in a very real way tonight, was gratitude. It was a beautiful evening, and I live in a town that is able to have these events. Somebody came up and was new to the town, and they were grateful that this town existed and that they could be there. And I was so very grateful for that. I was also grateful that, and I shared this with someone, that I did this tonight instead of something I had thought about. I thought about two other things. I won't go into details, but one of them was basically walking in an inflatable costume, one of those animals with like a political sign and kind of just walking back and forth. And I think that would have been eye opening and I would have gotten some response, but I wouldn't have been able to interact with people. And I think that is why I am so grateful that in my gut, I knew this is what the community needed, just the witness of someone on the street. Somebody asked me there, "Are you a preacher?" I said, "No." "Are you getting paid for this?" I said, "No." And somebody said, "That is really cool that, you could be anywhere, but you're out here doing this." And I said, "Thank you, for saying that." And again, I was just so grateful to be out there, to have trusted that this was the right choice, that that's where I needed to be. And we never know, when we plant a seed, and I think this is a seed, we never know what is going to grow from that. And one young woman said, "This is so cool." She's like, "I would love to do this." I said, "Hey, take this idea. There's no copyright, there's no licensing fee or anything like that." I said, "Just take it and do it." And I kind of gave her some tips about what I think is, makes it special, makes it successful, because it is so simple. You just keep it simple. And I'm not giving out anything. There's nothing on the sign that I'm representing anybody. I'm not representing anyone. I'm just out there. And I think that is really cool. I just want to close with one thought, and it is a thought about hope and also concern. You know, I think there was a time where just this evening and seeing this, not even that long ago, I could have really enjoyed it at peace, right? Now, we have to be honest and realize that, so much of what we have in America has always been an illusion. It is built on the backs of stealing land from native peoples. It is built on the back of chattel slavery and using human beings as people. It is built on the democracy that we have has all of this money and influence and power and all of that. So, as we were going about events like this and not thinking about, democracy and where our country is, we were sleepwalking. Now, though, we are even more so. And that's where the struggle continues to be. Right there on that street corner, right where I was standing, less than a week ago today, Saturday, we had 6,500 people, no kings with signs and cheering and honking. It was so powerful. And then here we are, just people going about their business. And again, I'm not faulting anyone or not judging anyone, but it's just so stark, you know. I mean, I was thinking a little while ago about, World War II, what that would have been like during wartime, right? When we were fighting the fascists overseas and there was this, mass mobilization and our society was all in. We came out of that in a stronger way, right? Now the fascists are at home, the fascists are in the White House. How do you counter that? And where does this go? What does this look like? All I know is that tonight I was glad to be there, and I think others were too. And I will stand out again when it is time for the next protest, when it's the time for the next disruption, when it's maybe the time for some civil disobedience. But tonight I was where I needed to be and doing what I needed to do. And I was just so grateful for that. All right, y'all, I'm tired. We're just going to keep it simple with the prayer. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Thy will, O God, not ours, be done. All right, y'all, I'm off to bed, and blessing and good, be bold, be